Hello, everybody. Ronnie, Michael, Ben, Andy, Beverly. You can see the screen. You can enter your book, and there's a link in the chat to the Mentimeter.
This is a good memory test to
Yeah,
go back and start to like think, what is my earliest memory of a book? It's hard.
what was it?
Oh my god!
I
Oh my
just
god, that's a good, that's a good question.
I couldn't really remember one, so I just picked one that I remember reading earlier.
That's probably what we're all doing. It's
Yeah.
the best we can, you know.
'Cause I definitely didn't read the Pushcart War at the same age as I was reading the Cat in the Hat.
Introduction to String Theory.
Right.
Right.
For the-
What?
Talking about cats in the cradle string, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well,
A good answer.
someone's being funny now. Oh, we've been going time. That's a good one. All right. Well, so let me get a different screen up here. All right, so we will just continue on. Has everyone had a chance to put in their books? We can move on here. Welcome to the January meetup. We'll start a new year and more connectors and more conversation. So just a reminder that things are being recorded, and we're just going to share that in the meetup group, not with the public at large. And then we have some little introductory questions. And we're going to try this year to kind of keep track of these throughout the year and see how it changes from meeting to meeting and over time. And we usually have a lot of experienced people. There we go. Getting down on the list there. All right, if everyone's entered that, we'll move on to this one, Claris Connect, which is moved into the 2-year range now if you first saw it with the beta release. Okay, so most everyone's been interested from the beginning too. It's good. Oh, and a new one. Good. And here, for those of you who use it more frequently, you can see what's the greatest number of steps you've included in a flow. There. And then there. And then we've got a new one. What kind of developer are you? We thought of some categories, so if you think of some different ones, we can add them next time, but some general ones that everyone might fall into. Experienced. Good. That's interesting. Most are outside consultants. And then, as always, we have questions. If you have any questions, you can type them here or you can type them throughout the meetup. And then we can address them as we go along. Give a moment for that. And if you think of some later, we can move on. And then we will just start with our introductions for today. Excuse me. Let me get to my little list here. So Andy, I see you at the top. We'll start with Andy.
Okay,
Everyone,
a different one.
Oh, two Andys. Oh, that's right. We do have. We have Andy Harrington and Eric Nazinski.
Go with the other one.
Okay, you can flip for it. We'll go with Andy Harrington.
Hey everyone, I'm Andy Harrington from Portage Bay Solutions. I live in Tampa, Florida. Been a FileMaker developer for a little over 10 years now.
Very good. And the next Andy.
Hey, Andy from Energy Software.
Very good. And I'm just going to kind of go out of order because I'm not seeing my normal list. So sorry, John. We'll go with Tim Anderson.
Hi, I'm Tim, independent developer in Scotland.
Good. And Ronnie, hello again.
Hello, Ronnie Rios, I'm product owner at Claris.
And we have Nico.
Hello, I'm Nico from Holland.
Oh.
About 10, 15 years FileMaker developer.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then Mike Ross.
Last but not least, Mike Ross, outside developer, Ross Digital LLC, also do work with beeswax. I've been doing for over 30 years, also run the Claris Western Washington FileMaker Meetup group.
Very good. And then we have Ben.
Hi.
Hi there.
Oh, hi, Ben.
Was that Ben or Bev?
Well, we have both. Ben, we'll do Ben first.
Okay. Sorry, Bev, if I interrupted you. Who said Ben? Hi, Ben here from England, but I live in Munich, and I'm apparently the only in-house developer here tonight. But I have worked for various companies and been a consultant too.
Very cool. And Beverly.
Hi, Beverly Voth. I'm in Kentucky, thawing out, getting ready for the next big one to hit tonight.
Ah, very good. I'm in Texas. We haven't got that yet, but I hear it's coming, so we'll see. All right, and then we're going to move on. We have two things this month to talk about. John's going to present this about iPaas. So I will stop sharing and let John take over. And then you can, follow. There's a link in the chat for the Mentimeter when you want to jump back in later.
Thanks, Brandon. So I don't have much of a slide deck. I'm just going to keep it on me for the moment. It's been a year, I think, that we've been doing this meetup, and it seems like a good perhaps even past due time to talk a little bit about other systems that do what Claris Connect does, and kind of do a little bit of compare and contrast and discussion about the different options that are out there. So I want to emphasize that I'm not an expert on all of these or necessarily any of them. I've done some research on the net and some studying, and I'm actually working on a blog post that we're going to publish on our blog sometime in the next, if things go smoothly before the end of the month, otherwise maybe next month. So if you're not subscribing to our newsletter already, you might go to our website and do that if you're interested in seeing that blog post when it comes out. And so this Connect Meetup presentation or discussion is sort of centered around what I've been looking at in that blog post. So I'm hopefully everybody will feel comfortable to jump in with comments. If anybody's worked with any of the systems I'm going to talk about, I've worked with Connect a fair amount and with Zapier just a little bit, and some of the other ones I'm going to mention I haven't worked with at all. So I appreciate any input. Please dive in with questions or comments as I'm talking. So one of the first things I was looking at as I was researching this a bit was, you know, how to start the blog post, what kind of introductory paragraph to write. And so I was kind of looking at what the product category. I know that Claris Connect and Zapier are competitors in this market space, and I know there's other products in this arena. And I was looking at how to categorize them and what product categories G2 or other websites that are reviewing and comparing and contrasting different technology products, where they're putting Connect. And so the official category that Connect is in is called iPaas, Integration Product as a Service, or Integration Platform as a Service. So these are a variety of platforms that are allowing you to integrate disparate systems into a workflow or an automation. The one of the things that I found a little bit interesting is as I was looking at that is how broad the iPaas category is. Connect is occupying one niche in it. It's a fairly big niche in that it's attempting to help you integrate, you know, a lot of different potential systems into different workflows. But I was looking at that and thinking that my brother-in-law is actually in the business of a very much narrower niche in the iPaas world. His company is integrating the products of just accounting providers in order to create an integrated system for doing accounts receivable management and tying it into your accounting staff's email boxes. So they've created, at least in theory, they could have used Claris Connect or one of the other broader iPaas systems to create their solution. But obviously they, you know, for a variety of good reasons, they didn't do that. But they're basically doing the same sort of thing that Claris Connect is doing, which is taking all these publicly available APIs and giving you a good way to integrate the data between them for a particular purpose. So there's a lot of different applications out there that are doing this iPaas sort of thing. For purposes of this discussion, I'm mostly kind of looking at Claris Connect and Zapier, and I'm going to mention a little bit in passing 3 other ones that I've taken a little bit of a look at. The first one is If This Then That. Their website is IFTTT. And then 2 other ones, Integramat and Workato, were a couple others that I took a quick look at. And the first thing I was kind of looking at was comparing cost a little bit. Not necessarily the most important basis for comparison on these systems, but a place to start for comparison purposes. So I'm going to share my screen a little bit and show what I've been putting together. One of the things that makes these systems a little bit hard to look at together is terminology. This grid that I have on the screen is a basic grid of costs for Claris Connect. What the monthly cost is, how many API requests that includes, and the number of flows that you can write. We all know what a flow is in Claris Connect, I think, but each of the other systems calls what you create with them a different thing. Connect calls it a flow, Zapier calls it a zap. One of the other systems, and I forget which, calls it a recipe. So they have different names for what a flow is, and they have different ways of controlling, of segmenting the user base and controlling what we're paying. Claris is using API requests as the differentiator here. If I go down and look at Zapier, they're also using API requests. Their pricing is pretty similar. One of the differences for FileMaker anyway is that the FM Plus license, which I think probably a lot of us would be using, is pretty attractive for FileMaker developers in particular. The IFTTT iPaas system is a little bit different. It's trying a little bit less to be a general purpose business platform and a little bit more to be a platform for high-end consumers trying to integrate things like their robot vacuum cleaner with their Amazon Echo implementation. It has a lot of information on its site about integrating different APIs for high-end consumer and that kind of marketplace. And then I haven't put together a grid yet, and I may not for this blog post about Integromat and Workato, but they're a little bit similar in terms of their pricing. Workato's targeting a little bit higher point in the marketplace, trying to give you a head start on some of the different automations you can do. And I haven't been able to get pricing on that. They're one of those companies that won't give you pricing unless you schedule a demo with them, unfortunately.
Hey, John, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please jump in.
So would you say that Zapier is the biggest fish in this particular sea?
I think so. As far as I can tell from poking around at everything, they're definitely the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah, so I wonder if they're sort of the ones kind of setting the standards on pricing that people measure up against.
I think that's a reasonable guess at what's going on here. I didn't put it in here, but the Integromat pricing isn't all that different than what we're looking at here as well. I think obviously each of these vendors is looking at the competitive landscape and deciding where to slot themselves in. And I think you're right. Probably Zapier's has a lot more influence over that than some of the other vendors do. Pardon me?
Yeah, Ben here, John. Just as you've been stopped anyway, just a real quick question. Sorry, could you just slowly repeat those other two services? Not Zapier and if this and that, I know. Mm-hmm. And I'm just making a note of the
other two that I was taking a look at that I'm going to look a little bit harder at them as well. I haven't finished looking at them. One of them is called Integromat. And the third one is called Workato, Workato.
Okay, Workato. Yeah, that's very clever. Okay, thank you.
Sure. From my perspective, looking at these different systems, Claris Connect has one big obvious advantage, and that is that for me as a FileMaker developer, the integration between the two platforms is tight, works really well. If I have a situation where I need the on-premise agent, that's a capability that you have with Claris Connect that you're not going to have with other platforms. In different environments, the ability to integrate tightly with your Claris ID and use single sign-on may be a big advantage. So there's some real advantages to Connect as a FileMaker developer, for sure. And on the Zapier side, the obvious big advantage is they just have a lot of connectors. I'm probably repeating things everybody knows on this point, but Connect is fairly new in the market. Zapier has been around longer, and if you have some obscure integration that you want to do, it's going to be more likely that Zapier has a connector for you to use currently than Connect. And then if you're looking for a more consumer product related API, if this then that's also going to be a good direction to look for that. One tool that's available for Zapier that's I didn't find anything for any of the other platforms is a way to manage the integration of data between Zapier and FileMaker in somewhat the way Claris Connect allows you to do. The FM gateway for Zapier that Paradise Partners puts out is a third-party tool that can allow you to integrate your database engine, your FileMaker database engine, into your Zapier workflows or your Zaps in somewhat the same way that you can do that with FileMaker Server in your Claris Connect workflows. So I think for a Claris developer or for a FileMaker developer, It's hard to beat Connect's tight integration. Second to that, Zapier Gateway by Paradise Partners gives you some good capabilities with Zapier. And beyond that, I didn't find much reference to anybody in the FileMaker community integrating with any of these other iPaas systems. So I'm hard pressed to see how easy that would be without those tools being available. Let's see here. One area that is, I think, pretty confusing, and I'm not sure that I have the best handle on it as yet, is this whole idea of update times that Zapier and some of the other gateway or some of the other iPaas systems talk about in their pricing and materials. Zapier, you can see here, has a 1-minute update time for its more expensive offerings and the 15-minute update time for the less expensive. I think this is already a little bit out of date. I think they've changed that so that the update time on the Pro account is 2 minutes. We've used Claris Connect to develop some workflows for our own internal purposes and have been really happy to find near real-time responses. So we've been able to integrate Claris Connect into a workflow, into a real-world workflow, and have the response, Claris Connect do its part of the job in near real time, effectively real time in terms of being able to do the task while Claris Connect keeps up with you. And so this concept of a 15-minute update is an important one in my opinion, and what exactly it means. And despite some research, I've had a little bit of a hard time determining what exactly that means. Zapier calls it a polling interval, and they have some connectors. They say they quote this number, and they have some connectors, some actions in their connectors that have the word instant by them, and those connectors, those actions are not subject to this time limit or this update limit. So if you create a zap in Zapier and you use a trigger that has the word instant by it, then it does happen in near real time. If you use a trigger that does not, then it is subject to these time limits. And the exact situations where you have this time limit causing you a delay versus not are a little bit unclear to me. I could speculate, but that's all it would be speculation. But that update time.
John, could I provide some?
Sure.
Provide some clarification on that. Yep. Yeah. So, and this is one of the big differences with Claris Connect. So these update times, what they mean is that those triggers are based on a polling system as opposed to a webhook. So what that means is that it's going to, instead of it like kind of the old way, and we've had this explained here in one of the sessions before. Basically, Zapier is contacting the other app in intervals of time. Say, hey, has anything changed? Hey, has anything changed? It's just asking, going back and forth, and that's what these numbers are. So how frequent does it ask the third party app if there's any changes? Are those intervals? The ones that say instant are the ones that are based off of webhooks, in which it's the opposite. It's a third party. You register a URL with a third party, and that third party sends Zapier a notification that that an event has occurred. So the majority of their triggers are polling. That's why they have a label for those that are instant, because those are fewer. Claris Connect is the opposite. We, as a matter of fact, today we don't have any polling triggers. All of our triggers are based on webhooks. So all of our triggers are instant. That's why you see that instant response in Claris Connect. I hope that makes a little sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exactly what I've been speculating. I despite a decent amount of looking around on Zapier's website and just general Googling, I had a hard time finding a real definitive description like you just gave. So I appreciate that. And that's exactly what I had kind of come to the conclusion of, is that the instant ones must be webhook based. and the other ones perhaps were something else. So that's I really appreciate that clarification. Thank you. So that's an area to be aware of for sure when developing workflows or zaps or whatever. Is that where no webhook exists, the trying to create a real-time flow is going to be not really possible. And with that's kind of a quick overview of what I've been looking at and comparing the different tools. Can I answer any questions? Anybody have any input on?
Well, just on this delay, the product that is out there that allows FileMaker to connect with Zapier, and the name escapes me at the second. I'm sorry about that.
FM Gateway.
FM Gateway. I'm wondering if that's a webhook because I've never experienced any delays using it.
Yeah, I think my guess is that the FM Gateway Zapier is giving you a FileMaker connector for your Zap. So my guess is that if your Zap is utilizing a connector for whatever system you're integrating with, if that one is not webhook based, then you might be subject to the limit. It seems to me the limit there isn't so much FM Gateway Zapier as the trigger for whatever site you're integrating with.
Okay.
I think because we were playing around with it a little bit yesterday and using a teamwork trigger in Zapier, and we were trying to figure out why were we not seeing this limit, and it took us a couple of minutes. We were going back and forth, and it's like, oh, there's the word instant. we hadn't noticed the word instant next to the trigger in Zapier.
So you guys have been using FM Gateway?
No, we haven't been using that yet, and I don't know for sure if we will. But we were just experimenting around, trying to understand better what this update time meant.
Oh, okay.
And so we were implementing a real quick Zap and Zapier that all we were doing was creating a Zap that was triggered off a task creation in Teamwork and sent a Slack message when it saw that.
So you're bypassing FileMaker altogether.
Yeah, we weren't using FileMaker for that. I wouldn't rule out using FM Gateway Zapier. I like Claris Connect because Claris is the developer of FileMaker and the developer of Connect, and I have a better confidence about the long-term support and viability. On the other hand, Zapier has 3,000 connectors, so the time may come where we use FM Gateway Zapier for something. I wouldn't really, for our own purposes, I wouldn't entirely rule out a workflow that involved both Zapier and Connect. Awesome. There's no reason not to do something like that. If you've got accounts in both systems and for some reason you want to deal with something in Zapier for one thing and Connect for something different. Any other comments, questions?
I was just looking at the pricing a little bit more because I was curious, because one thing that jumps out to me is that, Claris Connect doesn't have a free level the same way Zapier. I mean, it seems like all of them have a free plan, but then I went and I looked at the Zapier free plan and kind of what's missing from this is like, what exactly, I mean, those are the API requests you're getting, but there's other limits. So if you're on their free plan, you can only do single step zaps. So I think that means just like this, it's just the trigger and an action, right? So it's not going to be multi-step. So that's another limitation that I think, oh, well, maybe you'd want to have a free plan, but I don't know exactly. I mean, I think there's use cases, but it's just another kind of consideration about what kind of features you're getting. Because then even with the starter plan, it says you're limited to 3 premium apps. I don't know what premium apps are those, and that's the difference with Claris Connect, because we are not limited by we can use any app, we can use any webhook. Yeah, you only get webhooks if you have the starter plan. So with the free plan with Zapier, you can't use webhooks. So kind of interesting to look into the more nuanced differences between these, because it does seem like yeah, they're also unique in how they're priced and features and
Right.
and oh, and the other thing I was going to say about the price was that monthly cost for Zapier is based on an annual subscription. And there's a different price if you go month to month. I don't know who would. I mean, you know, most people are going to go annual. And I think Claris Connect, that's the annual price. So I guess this is comparing apples to apples right here, but just to clarify that as well. I don't know if Claris Connect has a monthly subscription.
I don't think there is a
We do not.
Yeah.
No, it's billed annually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the 100 API request limit on the free account for Zapier, you're going to blow through that so fast. I don't. Hard to see how that would be super useful, but of course, depending on what you're doing, I'm not sure 500 will last you a lot longer.
It's maybe just for testing and playing around to see how it works, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I can just look at the premium apps that you were asking about there. I can see that, for example, Salesforce is a premium app. So it's obviously ones they high demand, I guess, or they can charge a premium for or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, maybe the ones that require more resources for them to develop the integrations or.
Yeah.
For all I know, for all we know, Salesforce might charge them to connect to them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's everything I have for the moment. I'll turn things back over to you, Brandon.
Okay. And put that back up. So I put the link in the chat to Minimeter. And Kate is going to be up next. She's going to talk about the Outlook connector, and it can do a lot of things, but she's going to focus on the events aspect for today. So we'll get over to Kate. Oh, and then Nico had to go, but Heidi's joined us. So hello, Heidi, and hello, Ashley. Got some people coming in now for this part.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Share my screen. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Claris Connect. Connector of the month is Outlook, but yeah, specifically events, because there are quite a lot of different aspects of the Outlook connector, but I just wanted to focus on the events and basically, calendars. So let's look at first, actually, I want to look at this event sending. So there's one trigger and two actions that are related to events. So this is the action, it's called create event. And I'll just show you. So I created this is like the meetings database, sample template database. And I just created this button so that when you have an event here, I wanted to go ahead and schedule it in Outlook. And I had to, this isn't perfect because I had a little bit of trouble working this date out, and we can look at that a little bit more. But so here's my calendar here. So let's see, we'll just go ahead and run it. So I click my button. Let's make sure. Yeah, 4 seconds ago. Okay. And there's my event in Outlook. Now, of course, you can see, yeah, the date is wrong. And that is because I hard coded the date in here. So, and this is something that I think, with other kind of calendar connectors, we're doing the same thing. We have to get it in, and I'm forgetting the name of this specific date time format here, universal something, but that's what that's the format that Outlook is expecting. And then of course, I'm just sending over my data and it's coming over with the fields like, I'm sending over the date and the end time and the start time. So I have to convert those, and I couldn't, this is something I was trying to do this with the format date function, but I couldn't find the right one here that I needed. And maybe I just didn't spend enough time working on it. I was just trying to throw this together. So maybe somebody will know the answer to that. You know, the other option would be converting my date or my timestamp in FileMaker, you know, using a custom function or a function, and then passing it in my parameter and creating my event. But when you create an event, you can, you know, enter the subject, the event, start time, end time, reminder. If it's an all-day event, you can push the location, a URL if it's an online meeting, and the email, the organizer of the event, and then an attendee list in there as well. So one thing that struck me about this, and that's important to know, is that I can't choose which calendar I want to add the event to. It's always going to add to my default calendar. So in Outlook, I have some other calendars here, but this, the one called calendar, is my default calendar. And so anytime I push anything to there, it's always going to automatically just show in that calendar. And you can change your default calendar. This is the Outlook help article for how to set your default calendar. I didn't do any of this. I didn't change it, but I think this is one kind of, you know, drawback, because if you want to be able to write a flow that might push events, you know, to different calendars based on some condition, you can't really do that. I'm only pushing to this one calendar. So I actually opened a while ago, I added a request on the Claris community, and I can put a link to this in the chat or in our follow-up email, but this was a request I put in. So it would be cool if people wanted to vote on that. And I think that would be a nice change. I don't know, you know, Ronnie, I'm speaking, I'm not
Thanks.
speaking to you directly,
Thanks,
but I'm not going to hold back my wish list here.
No, please. And thanks for submitting that. Really appreciate it.
So yeah, so that's something important to know, is it's really just working with the default calendar. So let's see, then, so that's pushing events to Outlook. And the next part I wanted to test out, and so that's the one action, was receiving. So when I add an event to Outlook, I want to be able to, you know, push it to FileMaker. And for this, I set up kind of like this little Outlook alerts portal. And you'll see it's actually already working, because when I clicked this button to push my event into Outlook, it created the event. Then it triggered this other flow that said, oh, and a new event was created. So it's kind of a cool little cycle right there. This is my confirmation that that event was scheduled. And the way that flow works is similar. And this one's a little bit interesting, because it actually requires 2 steps. So the event created is the trigger, and that, as you'll see, the data that you get back when that's triggered is really minimal. So this is more typical of a webhook payload, where you're not getting a whole lot of data. You're just getting like the ID. So basically you receive this, and then you're going to go and do a poll, you know, to get information based off of this ID. And that's what we're doing in the find event by ID call. So the only parameter there is the event ID. So I'm passing the event ID I got from my trigger, and then that returns a lot more information. So I've got the original start time zone, end time zone, reminder, subject, important, sensitivity, you know, a lot. This is the full set of fields that could be returned related to an event. So this is what I'm using then to push data into FileMaker. So I'm then pushing, just this message field that has the name of the subject and the web link. Again, it's kind of the same thing with the timestamp, because what it will return is it always returns, I think, that the UTC time zone. So I would have to convert this, you know, if I want to display it in my, you know, in FileMaker, likely you want to convert it so it's readable. So that's something that, you know, I think could be part of these workflows is how do you deal with time, you know, converting your timestamps. So just to see this one in action, I'll just add another new event and save that. And there it is right there. So yeah, so that flow ran really quickly and that one works well. I thought, you know, another limitation, I'll say it, is that, you know, I like this flow. I like seeing the events, you know, come through, but then what happens if I delete this event or I change it? I can't, there's no trigger related to that. So when I delete this event, I can't, there's no event. I mean, there's no trigger for that. So I can't update my FileMaker database unless I was doing some polling to go and check. And you know, so I think that would be another nice thing. And maybe I'll add another feature request for when events are changed and when events are deleted, because it'd be nice to have a couple more triggers to work with. So you could have some full, you know, functionality to be able to keep, you know, alerts are in sync between your FileMaker solution and your Outlook calendar. And that was it. Does anybody have any questions or comments or want to look at that date thing with me?
Oh, Kate, when you create an event from FileMaker, can you put anything in it so with identifier so that when your trigger from Outlook gets triggered, if you're looking for new events created in Outlook, to come back to say, hang on a second, no, this was created in FileMaker, therefore I don't need to process it?
I could, yeah, I could probably add something in my
can you? That's the question. You'd have to
I
put
don't
something.
know if it's, yeah, I mean, if I added another parameter, right, that said, don't receive this event or whatever, then
But where would that go?
No, but yeah, I couldn't because it's coming from this trigger.
Yeah,
maybe if you
I'd have to add something in one of these fields somewhere that said,
yeah, just repurpose something in there.
You could use the event ID, add that field in FileMaker, and then add a find record right before the after you get the event, find the record in FileMaker. So if you don't find anything, then create it.
Yeah. Okay. So you can actually send an event ID. So would that then be stored? It wouldn't be the ID within Outlook though.
It would be the Outlook ID. So the trigger does, yeah. So the event trigger, one of the things that you do receive is the ID, which Kate is using here.
Yeah, but sorry, but creating it going the other way. When you create it, it uses the FileMaker ID if you send that over?
No, I mean, you're talking about this ID right here, right? When the event is created, it sends this trigger, and this is the Outlook event ID.
Yeah. So I need to maybe get that back from Outlook when I've created it in the first place. Right?
Yeah. So right. So when this, when the send, if I did a reply with JSON here at the
you just
end
need
of
to pick that and pull that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I could return it.
But again, you've got the issue there potentially that Outlook IDs are more than 100 characters and therefore not going to be indexed and match. You can't send an ID over. You maybe send an ID over to use a FileMaker ID or anything like that. No, probably wouldn't work.
There's ways around it. If I don't think those IDs are longer than 100 characters, but if they are, you could just do a digest.
Yeah, just cut it up. Yeah.
No, I meant just use one of the digest.
You can hash.
Okay, hash it. Yeah. Okay.
You can hash and having MD5.
Yeah. Okay. Hash will always be unique, and it's smaller than 100 characters.
Yeah.
So you can index it.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
Now, what if what if this reply with JSON ran, what if it doesn't run in time? What if this trigger runs before my reply with JSON runs? Then I wouldn't. And how do I know it's going to complete before this trigger gets triggered?
You'd want to put something actually in the event created to make sure to see if it doesn't have. I would like to first step in that event created thing to say, did this come from FileMaker? Therefore, ignore it, rather than go through the whole process.
Right.
That would be my logical. That catch it as early as possible. So I don't know if there's anything.
Okay, so this is the flow that creates an event in Outlook. And what I'm saying is if you get to step 3 and the event is created, and then this flow gets triggered. So then step 1 happens here before step 4 happens.
Exactly. That's why I would like it to, when it creates the event, it creates it in Outlook.
Yeah.
It has something in it to say, hey, this came from FileMaker or from outside source.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. Right. So sending some parameter to put in one of these fields here.
Yeah. Which I'm sure you could do somehow, he says. Maybe even put some you could even put some invisible character in somewhere.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
If you put a sort of invisible character somewhere in the title of the event at the end of it or something, as long as it didn't mess anything up, no one's going to type that in if they're creating it in Outlook.
Right.
Don't know.
Yeah.
See, yeah, it's interesting. Seems imperfect. I spent some time a little while ago creating events in Outlook from FileMaker using the Graph API. And that you can specify which calendar you're going to as well. And also you can potentially create it for other users too, which I don't know, you can't do that here either. You can't say whose calendar. How are you telling whose calendar it is?
Yeah, you can't. So you're limited by the same thing. So along with pushing to calendar, it's only going to push to the default calendar. And then same with the pulling. So, I mean, receiving. So it's if I add a new event to, and I want to add it to this work calendar.
Yeah, you can't do that.
That's a different calendar. It's not going to trigger this flow. It's only going to trigger it.
Yeah.
If I add it here.
Yeah, it seems a very early version of it that needs to get a fair amount of updating, because it would be useful to be able to go and say, okay, fine, this is the account, who all the calendars users in here. So you can actually, might want to be, a sales team might be, or a telesales team might be wanting to create appointments for a sales team. They wouldn't want it on their own calendar. They put it on their calendar.
Yeah, this is one of the problems with iPaas, no matter where you get it from, is that it always seems like what they have to offer is a subset of what you can get with the API.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. This works okay, but it's missing a couple important pieces, I think. I think these triggers, change, deleted, would be so great to kind of complete it.
Yeah. And okay, there, if you moved it from one calendar to another in Outlook, would that see that as changed or deleted, or would it just not know what to do with it?
So if I move this to, let me change the title. This is a test move. If I move this to my default calendar, now we will get a trigger.
So it sees that as being created.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
So as long as it's.
Yeah, but you want that if you move that from your default calendar to your work calendar,
nothing will happen.
No, but what would you want to happen? Would you want to see it as changed, deleted, moved?
Yeah, I guess I'd want to see it as moved.
That's maybe part of the problem. How do you convey what you say has happened to it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we can't at this point.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I think it looks like it's useful for one way one way or the other potentially, because otherwise you're just going to get in a loop and it's just going to keep bouncing around and around.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a question in the Minimeter from earlier. It says Outlook, does it work with Mac and Windows, or does this just send up to Outlook in the cloud and thus appear in your client app? So I'm not quite sure the terminology there, but.
I think this is Outlook, Office 365, Outlook,
Yeah.
which is, yeah, it's up to their server. So I'm sure if you have a local, application, it would just be connected to the same data.
Yeah.
That was my questions, Beverly. And I don't have Outlook on my computer, but I have it on my iPhone. So if I'm working in this, do I have to have Outlook on my computer to make it work, or?
No.
Okay.
No. So when I connected my account,
Right.
actually, that just does it really quick. I'm just signing in to my Office 365 account.
Okay.
That's all I did
Without-
to connect it.
You're not doing it to the local app. You're doing it to the account. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
And if you just, let's say you're using just iCal on your Mac, you can subscribe to this Outlook calendar and have it show up there as well.
Mhm.
That's a good idea, Mike. Thanks.
Mhm. Any other questions?
No, I think we have to wait for Ronnie to get it sorted to improve it, and then we're away.
Hi, Ronnie.
Already on it. Already on it.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, then kind of wraps this up a little bit then. Move on over here. Just about what connectors last year we kind of had crossed some of these off because we had ones that we had covered, but it's fine to go over some again. So we just put the whole list back up here again, see what people are interested in this go around, anything anyone wants to revisit or have you been thinking about, so you can type in your answers there. That helps decide what to do for future meetings. Let you see the list there a little bit.
Is that something we're supposed to enter in Menti or whatever it's called?
Yep, in Mentimeter. And let's see, we put that link back in again. Tends to disappear in the chat. There's a link there. And then you can see the different connectors and you can type in what you would like to take a look at.
Okay.
See if we have any responses yet. Everyone's deep in thought. Well, there we go. Some ideas. All right. And then, oh, there we go. More colorful. Lambda, Dropbox, Trello is coming up bigger this time. That's good that there's so much interest in all of them, really, in a lot of them, to see how we can incorporate them into things. And then that moves into this part. Who's next? Actually, next month is Fabio. He's going to talk to us. And then we've had several. We've had Ben, Olin, Heidi, Andy, Ronnie, Mike have all jumped in. So feel free. You don't have to know a lot about it. Even if it's brand new to you, just jump in and share with us what you've discovered as you're looking into it, because that's always helpful too. So if you want to be in the list, let us know. And see here, DocuSign. We did do a little bit of DocuSign, and we have some links in our in our meetup group, and I'll find the link for you and send that. And S3 also. Ben, you did that one, didn't you, on S3?
I did. I'm just eating something.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, no.
evening. here. I haven't eaten
You off
today.
guard there. So yeah, actually, I'll get you the link. So I can post them in the meetup, but I can send them to you directly too. Oh, peanut butter. That's rough.
Yeah, when there's no time to cook. Sorry.
That's like that Aaron Burr. You see the old Aaron Burr commercial where the guy's trying to win a contest and he's an Aaron Burr enthusiast, but he can't say it because he just took a bite of peanut butter and he loses the contest because he can't say Aaron Burr. It's pretty funny.
Okay, that's me tonight. Yeah.
We'll send that too. And then
Brandy,
next
can
month. Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I say something before I have to jump off in a minute? But
Sure.
I just wanted to say, because I think that there's a lot of knowledge in this group. But we're trying to collect examples of flows to help people kind of learn a little bit more about the connectors and utilities. So if you have any examples that might have helped your situations, use cases that help you understand a particular connector or utility, please feel free to reach out to me. We're trying to collect as many examples as possible for others who are learning, and we're trying to get onto the platform for the first time and help them out as best as possible. So reach out to me, ronnie@claris.com. You can send me an email. That's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any last comments from anybody?
I would like to say it's nice to speak to Beverly, because I've always admired her comments on the forum. So thank you. Nice to meet you, Beverly.
You're welcome.
Good. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy your Wednesday, and we will send an update email out, and we'll see you next month.
Okay.